Hi, Rabbi.
Hi, let's. Okay, so what 25 we got up to last week.
We're up to the place where it says, I read about of Lovesi, Hazi, B'Shem this Reda.
You have Pazi B'Shem Rabbi Yossi, or a different one?
Yeah, B'Shem of Yossi B.
Ben Yehuda.
of-
Ben Yehuda. Okay, up to here. Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda Bar Pazi B'Shem Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda. Adrinus Shola La Kila Sager. So Adrinus was Emperor Hadrian. Hadrian was the one who suppressed the revolt of Bar Kokhba, right, in about the year 120 or so, and that was.
So he's a tzaddik?
What?
So he's a tzaddik?
Bar Kokhba was not a tzaddik, right?
No, not Rav Kokhba. What's his name?
Adrianus?
Yeah.
No, Adrianus was a wicked emperor. He was a very, very
Oh.
bad person. He was the one who killed all the people in Beitar. I mean, I don't think he himself came, but his generals, his army killed all the people in Beitar. So he was very bad. Okay. So Adrianus had a nephew, Achilles, right? Achilles, we think, not 100% sure, but we think it's Onkelos. It's the same person, right? The Achilles Hager, right? So he asked his nephew, Achilles, Kushin Atun Omrin, is it true that which you say? One second. The Hein Alma, the Kayam Arucha. This world is sustained by spirit. What spirit? So it seems that the spirit means the spirit which causes people to speak, because it says in Bereshit it says Vayipach Adam Vayipach Hashem Abam Nishmas Chaim. Hashem breathed into Adam the breath of life, and Onkelos translates there. He says that he became Adam became a ruach memalala, a speaking spirit. So from this we see that the world is niskayim, the world is sustained by the ruach, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, breathes into Adam Arisha. So that's the story about this ruach memalala. Okay, so is that the ruach which sustains the world? So I'm like, as he said, yes, that's exactly what sustains it. Place. Amalei mean hein up modeli. From where are you going to prove this to me? In other words, how do we know that this is the case? So he said, I'll tell you what, this is what you should do. I see Lee, Hognin, bring me coals. No, not coals. Small camels. The Cormier says, bring me small camels. I say Hognin. He brought him small camels. Okay. At to nail. So he put upon them heavy loads. Then Akiminun, he rose them up, Varbiun, and then sat them down again. Vinasun, and then he caused them to move. No, Nasu means he did it. He did again and again and again. Nasu means he did again and again. V'chankun, right? And then gradually they suffocated to death. So he took small camels, overloaded them, and worked them to death. That's what he did to them. So then Achilles said to Hadrian, okay, now make them get up again. I guess once they expire, they all lay down. So Hadrian said, what do you want from me? I'm going to get them up once you suffocated them. That's it. They're finished. They're over. They're done with. I can't do anything with them anymore. So Malay. So he says. Achilles said, "Oh, why did I cause them to lose? by overworking them up and down, up and down, up and down. So what do they no longer have? Lo ruchahid and afkuminon is a not ruach. They just lost their wind, right? They got winded out. They got suffocated. So here we see that the wind of a person, the breath of a person, is what gives a person, or in this case, the camel, the power of life. So it's a very strange proof, but that's
Isn't that pashut
what?
that a person has to breathe to live?
It would seem pashut. Again,
So,
as I said,
I don't, what are they teaching us?
what?
What is the Gemara teaching us?
I think he's trying to teach that the power that what causes a person to live or die is the power to breathe or not breathe. In other words, that's the system which causes on which life and death is contingent. You could say that it'd be the blood because it says damo nefesh. You could say that it's food, right? But he says that ultimately it's the power, that which kills a person or keeps a person alive is the power they have to breathe. Again, I don't know what the alternative is. You're asking very good, Svi. I don't have a deep shot in this, but that's what you had to prove to him, that it actually is the breath which keeps the person alive, not just not any other part of the system. Okay. Says more further, now to the two dots. You can't dash in to the Meiser Merkava, which we assume to be the most profound Kabbalah, right? You can't learn it out, even to an individual. Can't teach it even to an individual, unless he's a chacham and maybe midaita, unless he understands everything on his own. So it says Gemara, Odi Rabbi Akiva. Is this going like Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva said in our Mishnah. Where's Rabbi Akiva? So we said last time that Rabbi Akiva is the one who said he can't even teach it to one person. Rabbi Shmuel holds that you can teach to one person. In other words, when the Mishnah said that ain't doshim barayis l'shleisha, the Gemara had said that's l'shleisha, that's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel holds you can be dash l'shleisha. Love my separations b'shnayim, that was also Rabbi Akiva according to Rabbi Shmuel can learn b'shnayim. And now it says love my yachid. So saying, is that also like Rabbi Akiva, or also Rabbi Shmuel agree to that? So Divrei Kohu, no, everybody agrees to this, not just Rabbi Akiva. Person has to know to be careful with the honor of his creator. Now, obviously, that means that Kabbalah, Meiser Merkava specifically, is something which is the most profound honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and people have to be very careful in the way they learn it, because you have to show proper derech eretz and do things with great sneers, not to be mafar, same things which are profound wisdom, and therefore, even Rabbi Shmuel holds that you can learn arayas b'shleisha and ma'aser b'reishis b'shnayim. Also, he holds that the ma'aser merkava you can only do to echad, and he has to be a chacham and maybe midaito, so you don't have to say everything out loud. Now, I want to add to this a little bit outside, which is that I think I learned have a seder with one of my talmidim from years ago, and we learned leshem together, which is, I think I told you this, which is the Kabbalah, and to me it's excruciatingly boring and difficult. I have because it's very, very mathematical, and it's very, very intricate, and it really is basically like, to me it's like learning computer coding, and which would not be all exciting to me. Some people, I'm sure it's very exciting to, but the idea is that that I don't think is what we're talking about here. Obviously, we're talking later on. Going to see that Rabbi Akiva and others went up and had to see what was going on in Shemayim. So the Kabbalah we're talking about. What?
This is Gemara about the parties?
Yes. So since these people went up to see what's going on in Shemayim, so therefore this Kabbalah is not just learning, about what sphera connects to what sphera, what part of the Shir Klema of the world is structured according to Kabbalah, as if it's some giant human being and everything fits into different places in the human physique. That's not what obviously we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is the capacity to have to go up to Lamos El Yoim, go up to higher worlds, and connect to Malachim, to connect to other types of spiritual forces, and therefore this is something which a person can't really be taught this fully. They have to develop it to a large extent on their own. And that's saying that, and this is something where a person can misuse it, the powers which Kabbalah imparts, and terrible, terrible things. There's a famous story which we don't know if it's a myth or not a myth. There's a Kabbalist from Sfas from the 1500s. His name was Yosef de la Rina. Anybody ever hear the story of Yosef de la Rina?
I don't think so.
Yosef de la Rina was a Makubal who they say wanted to bring Mashiach. And the way he wanted to bring Mashiach was he was going to get rid of the Satan. And he did whatever he did, and he laid hold of the Satan and he captured him. And he had special ropes with which he held him captive, and the Satan was powerless. And he knew that the Satan knew the end was coming, because now that he had a hold of the Satan won't be able to be Machdi and be Makatrig anymore, and that would be the end, and Mashiach would come. So the Satan came up with a special plan. And he said to Rabbi Yosef de la Rina, he said, listen, I feel very faint. Now that you put these special ropes upon me, you restrain me, and I have no power anymore. So can you give me, you have some smelling salts or something which can give me the smells too, because that's how you give people, they're feeling faint, you give them something to smell, which wakes them up. So Yosef de la Rina says, yeah, okay, sure. He gives us some smelling salts. And the Sultan takes a whiff and he says, now I got you, because by giving me those smelling salts, you're giving a carbon to Avodah Zarah. Because it's you're now allowed to give even to Malach, you're now allowed to give a carbon to Avodah Zarah, to give a carbon to a Malach. So he said, gotcha. Now you did the mice of Avodah Zarah, now you're in my control. And he removed all the shackles, and he sent Yosef de la Rina down to Gehenna, and that was the end of that attempt to bring Mashiach. So, and obviously, when other people tell the story, they do a much better job than I just did. But the point of the story is that
Definitely a Hasidic Shemaisa.
What?
Definitely a Hasidic story.
Yes, but the point is, it is a Hasidic story, but it's before Hasidus came to existence.
Rabbi, do you believe it?
What?
You believe it?
Do I believe it? No, but something it is brought down that something would happen with Yosef de la Rina, and I think that the story which is made up is a made up story, but there is definitely such a Makubal who somehow got himself into trouble. Okay, so obviously there is something which went on there. So the point is that there is a special degree of sensitivity and caution and precaution, which a person has to take if they're going to reach those heights of Kabbalah. So that's the saying that a person has to be chas al kavod koinu. Lochem arav ein adam rashei lomar davar keneged rabo elokei ra shimesh. And the Korban says kal v'chomer. So the person has to say something against about his Rebbe unless he saw him or served him. And it says kosh kish osa dar ben yonei hamokom. You can't talk about a Rebbe unless you have an expertise about him. You certainly can't talk about Hakadosh Baruch Hu unless you have an expertise about him. Another thing. Also, Rabbo b'yonei Amerikava. You can't talk in front of your Rebbe about Ma'aser Merkava. Can Rami Rabbo or Shimesh unless you saw something from your Rebbe or you served in a way that you were able to understand intuitively what it was about. They're very machmir about this because of the cover of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. That people should not just come lightly in the Kabbalah, and therefore even one-on-one, that be careful and not do it unless they're chacham maybe in midaita. Okay, Ketzerosa. So what do? How does it work if you can't teach directly? And it has to be done b'derech remes. How does it work? So b'tchila rabo poseach lo. Here it says Rashi Psukim. But some of the Achronim change it to Rashi Prakim. So if you tell him it's Rashi Psukim, then you tell him like the beginning of if you take it the way we have it here, so it means like you take the Ma'aser Merkava as written in Yechezkel and Yeshayahu, and you start talking about the Psukim, but then you leave it to them afterwards to figure yourself up on their own. If it, to me it says Rashi Prakim like the Achronim say, so it means that you give it to him in brief. And then he has to go and unpack those ideas on his own, right? you will see Mitzvah Hashem, when the Rogachover writes Torah, he writes ayin, and then it gives one or two words of explanation, ayin, and that's Rashi Prakut.
Sometimes the Marsha does it also.
What?
Sometimes the Marsha does it also.
Yes, but Rogachover is famous for it. So he gives us things Levi gives things in very brief synopsis, and then he has to unpack it himself. Okay, and then it says, going to the next word, it says next page, it says umaskim. So what does umaskim mean? So again, a couple of shatim here. Maskim, according to the Korban Eda, means v'shosek. He remains silent, the Talmud, and he figures out what is really meant. Then the other interpretation is that the Talmud understands things on his own. He says, "Oh, Rebbe, did you mean X, Y, Z?" And the Rebbe verifies that and says, "Yes, if the guy got it right." Okay. Rabbi Chia b'shem not sure this is Chia b'shem Rabbi this be b'shem. I know he's quoting here. Says the name Rabbi Yochanan at the bottom. Rabbi Yochanan was not Rabbi Chia, and the Shin is close. It says Rabbi Yochanan, but Rabbi Yochanan was Rabbi Chia's Talmud. So it should be the other way around, unless it's a different Chia. Anyway, whoever it is, Talmud Basi Kohen Rebbe. Rabbi Anasi had an older student. Dorish Perek Echad b'Maisem Merkava. And he expounded a Perek in Maisem Merkava. That means he said over a lesson, Maisem Merkava. And below his schema daito Rebbe. He was not masking with what he said. He went by this previous Gemara, right? That the Talmud says something, and the Rebbe was supposed to be masking, not masking. And this is the Loka B'Shchin. The Talmud got a machla, he got a disease of boils because he didn't understand correctly. Now, I'm not sure what the Mida connected Mida here is. Maybe since he didn't understand correctly, so therefore it was Gechil Hashem, and therefore he was just like he, so to speak, embarrassed Hashem. He himself got embarrassed. It was a good thing for him he didn't die. That's the positive thing. But the point is that since Rebbe wasn't masking to what he said, so therefore he had to get he got a punishment. HaTorah zu daima l'shnei shvilim. This Torah of Kabbalah is like two pathways. And it's basically a lose-lose situation. How so? Echad shel ur. One of them is fire. Not or, light, or, fire. Echad shel shel, one of them is snow. Hita b'zeh, if you go too far to the one pathway, meisbur, you're going to die of fire. Hita b'zu, if you go too much to the other pathway, meis b'shela, you'll die of snow. Maya say, what do you have to do? You have to go in the middle. Now, the way I would imagine is like when you go bowling, there are two gutters on each side, right? You have to make sure to stay in the middle so your ball doesn't go into either of the gutters. But it seems here that if you take the mashal literally, it means there's a very broad shvil on one side and a very broad shvil path on the other side, and in between there's no shvil. So it's much more difficult because your natural tendency will be to go on the right on the shvil shel ur, on the left on the shvil shel sheleg, and not to go in the middle where it's so much more difficult and narrow to walk. But that's what you have to do. So it's a very challenging limud because it's very dangerous. And swerving one way or the other is going to lead to a bad end. Okay. Now, of course, there's another part of the metaphor here, which is ur is getting too close. It's getting burnt up. Sheleg is staying too far away, right? And therefore, it's staying too cold. So you have to be careful to be in the middle, which is not too hot, not too close, and not too far away, not too cold. Okay. Zakai was going on the road and he was riding on a donkey. Elazar ben Arach was following him. Elazar ben Arach was one of his greatest Talmidim. Amar lo, he said, Rebbe. Rabbi Elazar said to Rabbi Yochanan, Hashineni Perek echad ma'maiser hakala. Teach me one Perek. Teach me some limud and the ma'aser hakala. So he said to him, Amar lo, Rabbi Yochanan said, "Below kach shonu chacham, I can't do it." Chacham said, "Below merakava, elen ken hayach chacham, maybe midaita." I can't teach you directly. You have to be a chacham. You have to understand you're wrong, right? He said, "Rebbe, tashen my davar lefanecha." So Elazar said, "Fine. Let me say something to you. Let me expound it to you." Amar lo emor. So he said, "Okay, fine. Tell me." Came with Shepasa Elazar b'Maisa Merkava. Once Elazar started dashing the Maisa Merkava, Yar lo Rabbi Yochanan Tzachik ben Chabor. Rabbi Yochanan Tzachik went down from the donkey. Amar said, "Eino b'din she'ei shomer kavod koini." It's not appropriate for me to listen to the honor of my creator. And I'm riding on a donkey. So they went and sat together under a tree. And fire came down from Shamayim. And it surrounded them. And the Malachi came down from Shamayim and they were jumping in front of them, dancing, in other words. Just like the members of the people who come to Chasna, dance in front of the Chasna. Nena, Malacha mitoch haish. So one Malach spoke out from amidst the fire. The way you're saying good. As Elizabeth obviously was a chacham, maybe midaito. He understood and he intuited it on his own. Kenu ma'aser merkava. The apostle calling on so immediately all the trees open up. PM their mouths from Shira. They started singing the Chaved, Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, Rabbi Yochanan Zakai. Like it says, Aziranu kol atzayar. So this is where then all the trees of the forest will praise. It says that in the pasuk we say in Kabbalah Shabbos Lifnei Hashem, right? So Kaviyachol, this Lifnei Hashem because Elazar ben Arach was dashing the Ma'aser Merkava in such an amazing way. Okay, so came Gomer Elazar ben Arach Ma'aser Merkava. Once he finished dashing, Amar B'Yocham ben Zakai in the Shokal Roisho. Yocham ben Zakai stood up and kissed him on his head. When he said, "Baruch Hashem Elokei Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Shenasla Avraham Avinu ben Chacham." How wonderful is that Avraham Avinu has such a descendant. We have people who we're up to. The people who know well how to darshan, but they don't know how to keep well. In other words, they're big talkers about their mitzvahs, but they're not big doers. On the other hand, the people are big doers, but they can't explain things so well. You can both explain things and also fulfill things. Ashrecha Avraham Avinu. How praise to you, Avraham Avinu, that from you came Elazar ben Arach. Came into Shamu, your Rabbi Yosef Hakohen, Rabbi Shimon ben Nesanel. These are other than Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai, which we're not really familiar with. I don't know. I'm sure they appear elsewhere, but I don't recall seeing them. Avheim Pasuk Ma'aser Merkava. They also started dashing Ma'aser Merkava. From they said Yom Echad B'Tkubas Tammuz Hoya. This was the first day in the summer, which is around this time of year. V'rosh ha'aretz, the land the land became full of earthquakes. V'nirsa keshes ba'anan, right? A rainbow was seen in the sky. So normally the rainbow is a symbol of Klola, right? But here's a symbol of bracha because normally for there to be a rainbow, there has to be rain. And the rainbow comes to say, okay, even though there's rain, Kosh Baruch is not going to destroy the world. But here is the middle of summer. There was no rain. So this rainbow was a sign of the great chiba, the great, how precious Rebbe Elazar ben Arach and the other Amos Danoim were dashing Ma'aser Merkava. Yatsa Basko, the boys came out and said to him, the place in Gan Eden is open for you. The great hall is furnished for you. Atem, you, v'talmidechem, and your students, mizumanim l'kash lishis. You are designated for the third group. Now, this is the Carbon Ada says here, over here, kash lishis. So for me, that'd be kind of a letdown, you know. Okay, here we got to this whole big madrega, but we're only up to the third group, not up to the first or second group. But I guess the first and second group, those are people like Moshe and Aaron, Elio and Elisha. So I guess being part of the third group is not bad. So they got to they were destined to be at this point for the third group. How much time do we have left? So Who's going to literally some there means that there's a lot of simcha, a satisfaction of simcha in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we dash in it. Sheva Kito Shel Tzadikim Osi Love, the same group Tzadikim in the world to come, and they are the third in the third of the 7 groups. Now we're getting to the Maisa of the Arba Shnichus Lepardes.
Isn't that the next? Isn't that down?
What?
Isn't that on Daf Tessa? Isn't that later?
No, it's here. In the Bible, it's later, but here it's over here.
No,
It starts here.
It says Shal B'Shlema Shov Meister Be Yeshua Shem HaKadosh. That's my cover.
This is
That's-
my cover, yeah.
That's a paradise.
Yeah. Okay. Shumaitza Rishua Shem HaKadosh. Ben Zoma but connected. Ben Zoma is one of the 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ben Zoma, Ben Azar, Rabbi Kiva, and Acher. So
Mhm.
Rabbi Yeshua was walking, and Ben Zoma came up and said, "Shal B'Shlema V'lo Yeshivo." He asked him how he was doing, and Ben Zoma didn't answer. He said, "I don't lie, Ben Zoma. From where are you coming? Where are you going, Ben Zoma?" Starting to Ma'aser Bereishis. It says Ma'aser Bereishis, but it's basically the same idea. Between the waters on high and the waters below, there's only a tefach. Now, this is obviously big secrets, and I have here written down on Side Gemara a long interpretation of it, which I'll share with you next time. But obviously, the Mayim Tachtonim, Mayim Yonim, which also appear in the Bavli, are the Yisodos of Ma'aser Merkava. So he said there was a tefach, right? Just like here it says Ruach Elokim Racheves al Pnei Hamayim. That's the Mayim Yonim, which is floating, and it's just like a nesher, just like an eagle floats over his nest. I was going to say, just like an eagle floats over its nest, the tefach. So too, the Ruach Elokim Racheves al Pnei Hamayim is a tefach above the waters, which are al Pnei Haaretz. Okay, but like I say, I don't want to get. We'll get into the deeper shot next week. So I'm assuming next week, unless I hear otherwise, that we're going to still learn on Thursday next week. It's Hashem, 7:15. Is anybody not able to make it next Thursday? Who's here today?
I don't know if there's camp.
What?
There may be camp.
Okay, so why don't you find out for me, and either you send me email or one of your parents send me email.
All right.
And
Okay.
then I'll send emails to the parents.
Okay.
Or who I don't have some people's emails address I have, but not everybody. So
Thank you.
So we'll be in touch and figure out whether it's Wednesday or Thursday. Wednesday next week for me might be a problem because I'm probably going to be driving back, but maybe by Wednesday night I'll be back in New York. We'll see. Okay, we'll be in touch during the week. Anyway,
Thank
Sunday
you.
night,
Good night.
Hashem, at
Thank
8:40,
you.
and after Marib, which is about after early Marib, which is about 8:45. I'm going to do the other share. We're going to do Orchos Tzadikim. That was a mamish the same group of both nights, so we can do Yerushalmi both nights. But right now, I'm going to do Musar Sunday night. And come
Rabbi,
back
what
to
time?
8:45.
Okay,
Good night.
thank you.
Have a good Shabbos.
Okay. Have a good Shabbos.
Ciao.